Kane pushed through the burning streets, his sword dripping with blood. His men fought fiercely, cutting down Malgrin's warriors, but for every enemy slain, 2 more took their place. The city was falling. At the ruined palace steps, Malgrin stood tall, his black armor reflecting the flames. He wielded a great war axe, its blade pulsing with a crimson glow.
"You're too late, Kane,"
Malgrin called, his voice like rolling thunder. "Velisgard is mine." Kane stepped forward, gripping his sword.
"Not yet."
Malgrin laughed and leaped down, swinging his axe in a deadly arc. Kane barely dodged, feeling the wind of the strike pass his face. He countered with a thrust, but Malgrin battered his blade aside with monstrous strength. The duel raged through the palace ruins. Sparks flew as steel met steel. Kane's arms burned with exhaustion, but he fought on, dodging Malgrin's devastating strikes and landing quick cuts. Then Malgrin's axe found its mark. A brutal strike to Kane's ribs sent him crashing to the ground. He gasped, blood dripping from his lips. Malgrin loomed over him.
"You were a worthy foe,"
he said, raising his axe for the final blow. But before he could strike, a horn sounded from the eastern gate. Reinforcements. The king's elite guard had arrived. Malgrin turned, his moment of distraction all Kane needed. With a final surge of strength, Kane drove his sword straight through Malgrin's chest. The warlord staggered, eyes wide with rage and disbelief. Then he collapsed. The Black Sun Dominion had lost its leader. As dawn broke over Velisgard, Kane stood atop the palace steps, bloodied but victorious. The war was over, but the scars it left would never fade. The fires of Velisgard smouldered for days. Bodies lined the streets, the price of victory paid in blood. Survivors wept for the fallen, and soldiers wandered the ruins, too weary to celebrate. Elias Kane stood atop the broken palace walls, overlooking the city he had fought to save. His wounds burned, but his heart felt heavier than his body. He had killed Malgrin, but at what cost? The kingdom was in ruins, its armies shattered. General Rorik approached, his armor dented and smeared with ash.
"The last of Malgrin's forces have surrendered,"
He said.
"Velendor is ours again."
Kane nodded, staring at the blackened sky.
"And what of the king?"
Rorik hesitated.
"Dead. The palace was breached before we arrived. The throne is empty."
The words settled over them like a storm cloud. Without a ruler, Velendor stood vulnerable. The nobles would soon descend like vultures, each vying for power.
"Then the war isn't over,"
Kane muttered. Rorik sighed.
"It never is."
As dawn broke, Kane sheathed his sword and turned toward the shattered city. He had saved Velisgard from Malgrin, but now he faced a new war, one of politics, betrayals, and the battle for the crown. And this time, no blade could decide the victor.